Hello everyone, I'm Ajay Verma. I'm a software engineer. I've been coding WordPress plugins since 2008. I have 8 plugins in the WordPress repository. I'm one of the codable experts. I was working on Gravity Forms. You may have heard that form plugin. And I have contributed to WordPress core. And I'm now the main developer of Uncanny Automator. And may I know how many of you are coders? Can you raise your hand if you are a developer or a coder in any way? Okay, so I was a backpacker and I had my travel blog made on WordPress. I came to Philippines without knowing anything about coding WordPress. So at first I started developing some plugins for my travel blog, and then some people were requesting me to upload those plugins into the repository, so I tried it, and that's how I became a developer. So over the years, I accumulated some experience, and it's been 16 years, so some of the things didn't work, but some things work really well. So I'm going to share what works well if you're just starting your journey in becoming a WordPress developer. And we will start with learning. So watching courses is not enough. You really need to apply the skills to actually learn something. So the first thing that actually changed my career was sites like HackerRank and Codility. You might want to write it down. And so HackerRank and Codility, they are basically the same websites. They have a ranking, it's like a game where you solve puzzles, very, very challenging engineering puzzles. And once you solve them, you get your pages, and you can even get job offers just from their that websites because they are designed for hiring people. I wasn't able to solve those puzzles at first. It was very, very tough, very challenging. But I found a course on Udemy that walks me through most of the tasks, and that's how I learned to complete those challenges. And now I can complete those challenges without any help. Second is, I was really struggling with object-oriented programming at first. I was a front-end developer and I couldn't grasp the object-oriented. I mean, I understood why it's needed, but I didn't understand how. So one thing that changed is the Node.js course by Andrew Mead, and although I'm a PHP developer, that course taught me using JavaScript, and on the side I also learned how to use Node, which is very important right now because you need it to compile Gutenberg blocks and some themes and other things. So that will be useful in 2 ways. You will learn Node and you will learn the object-oriented programming. Next one is learn GitHub. You can use GitHub Desktop. You don't need to use the CLI. Learn how to use it. Learn how to use Docker. And with GitHub, it is very important to have your account public. So in GitHub, there's a settings where you can make your account activity public. It will not mention where you contribute, but it will display the stats. How many times per day you commit, how many pull requests you created, how many you approved. And so this means that you don't actually need to code something to show your activity. You can actually keep your grocery list in GitHub, or maybe your dog's veterinary records or something. I have a small business. I keep all my business documents in GitHub, and then I commit there 3-4 times per day. So when some employer looks at my GitHub account, they can see that he's contributing every day somewhere. They don't know where. They don't know it's my grocery list. So keep your GitHub account public and commit every day something. Next, learn unit testing. And there's a principle in Google called B on C. So if you code something and you don't attach a unit test or end-to-end test to it, that code will eventually be useless, especially when you leave the company. So unit testing is very important, and it's actually not that difficult. So if you create a function that, for example, multiplies A and B, unit test is just another function that uses your function to test if it correctly multiplies everything. So why is it important? Because later I will tell you number 5 is contribute to open source, and specifically WordPress. And in WordPress, you can not only contribute the code, you can contribute photos or community skills or whatever, but you can also contribute tests. And that's very easy. So WordPress contribution, how it works. There's a bug tracker. You can see the list of bugs that users submitted. And then someone might fix the bug, but every fix needs a unit test, and most of the developers, they don't know how to create unit tests. That's where you come in, you just create unit tests and contribute it to the core, and that's where you get your badge that looks like this. Once you get that badge, none of the employers will ask if you can install WordPress because you're one of the contributors. You may say you're one of the developers of the core of WordPress, so they might feel uncomfortable asking you amateur questions. It raises your resume, it doubles or triples the power of your resume. So learn unit testing. If you go to Udemy, you will see that the longest course about unit testing in PHP takes only 2 hours. So there's nothing difficult in unit testing. You can also contribute to other projects. Just recently, I had one front-end friend. He just learned front-end development, but he never had any jobs. And he was struggling his resume was empty, so no one was hiring him. I told him, try to contribute to React or something. So he contributed to Nox.js. He just adjusted how the progress bar moves when you load the website. And his contribution was accepted, and then next week he got a job in the US just because he mentioned that he is one of the contributors of Nox. So publish plugins. WordPress repository accepts any plugin, no matter what kind of idea you have, no matter how it works. It's just they only check the code. So if your code is not breaking sites, they will accept it. So how I was doing, I was freelancing a lot at the beginning, and a lot of companies, they ask you to code some test plugin. So for example, one employer, they asked me to create a widget in sidebar that will convert milliliters to liters, like for a recipe website, like cups to tablespoons and whatever. And I coded that plugin. I didn't get the job, but I put it in the repository. So if you see, I have 8 plugins in the repository. One of them is a recipe converter. One of them is a translation widget, dictionary widget. So those are very tiny plugins that no one uses. But when an employer looks at your account in WordPress, they see 8 plugins, 4 contributor. So that builds your resume. Build a couple of plugins, very simple plugins. You can copy others' idea. You can create a form plugin. Yeah, there are 7 or 6 big form plugins, but it doesn't matter. It matters that you know the logistics of how to wrap your code, deliver and publish on the repository. That also makes your resume very strong. Attend events like this. There are a lot of company owners who are hiring, and just make friends, communicate, because personal meeting always will give you more points when you apply to the job in that company. And also try to join Codable and TopTal. Those are the companies that hire top 3% of developers, but they say that they do it, but actually their test is way, way, way simpler than HackerRank or Coding. So just by having that Codable expert badge also brings a lot of credits. Next. Okay, so I already covered some of those steps, but the next step after you learn your craft is to build a strong resume. The first thing you must do, I think, is to contribute to any open source. Preferably WordPress. If you're a front-end developer, you can do it. React, or you can even contribute to VS Code, for example. Many of you are using VS Code. It's a code editor. You can contribute to that. So any open source project, you can contribute and get the badge on your resume and then boast. Freelance until you publish 2+ plugins. So whatever work you fail for your clients, put it in the repository. So if you develop a plugin or a theme and the the client rejected it, you might still fix some issues and publish it in the repository just to put it in your resume. Because when you say that I work for this company and that company, that's not very trusted. But when you show your account where you actually have the theme in the repository, that's what they trust. So again, yes, and there is one other point that I didn't cover is help people. So go to Stack Overflow, go to forums. Many companies, many plugins have forums where they, some people help other people. And I see a lot of times when we hire people from the forums. So if you're active in Gravity forums, for example, support forum, you might become a support technician in Gravity forums. And that's actually how I get in Gravity forums. I was a support technician at first. Next, applying for jobs. So ideally, you want to choose several plugins that you actually believe in, that you use. So right now I'm working in Uncanny Automator. It's a plugin that allows automating different plugins inside WordPress. Like for example, you can connect WooCommerce to LearnDash, you can send messages to Slack and whatever. You can build any kind of recipes. And when I saw that plugin, I thought, oh my God, they're going to take my job. Because that's what I'm doing for clients. I charge $3,000 or $4,000 for what they can do in one recipe. So I emailed them and I said, you guys are stealing my job. So I have to hop on this train or I'm losing my job. They hired me. So attend the company's websites, learn about their plugins, and then email them telling them how good their plugin is, how it will disrupt the industry, and how you want to be one of those people who are on the train. Build a network in LinkedIn. So post, connect, add everyone you met here, like people's posts, comment, and eventually you will start seeing some job offers there. And you can also create alerts, so you get a list of job opportunities every day. Number 3, we work remotely. If you haven't heard about this website, there's a book that's called We Work Remotely. And at the end of this book, there's a coupon code for a free ad on that website. That's why that website always has new jobs. And if you don't have a book, the one advertising price is $300. So you usually don't get cheap offers there. You get offers from big, high-paying companies. That's actually where I found 2 of my best jobs. We work remotely. Codable, it's like a freelance database where you still need to communicate with clients, but you are limited. You're not allowed to set your rate lower than $75 per hour. So if you get a client there, it's usually $1,000 plus for a small job. Jobs at WordPress.net. There you can also find some freelance work that can eventually lead to a full-time job. LinkedIn alerts, I already said, and write every CV manually. So when you write to some plugin, let's say it's WP Forms, you need to start with why they're so awesome and end with why they're so awesome. Because when you end the letter saying like your guys are awesome, they can say no. So in the middle, it's like a sandwich, you know. You start with good news, then you put your own information, who are you and what you can do for them, and then end with how awesome are they. And that's how I always create manual email, very personal to every company. I don't send spam to generate one resume and send it to thousands of employers. I always write it manually with personal touch. And then how to nail the interview. What I always do is that if I know that I will have an interview within 1 week with some company, like for example Gravity Forms, I create an add-on for Gravity Forms. Create a simple add-on that does something. For example, if you're applying to WP Forms, I know because they are hiring very actively, create a Gcash payment gateway. It sounds difficult, but it's actually easier than you think, and they have no resources to develop a Gcash integration. So you might develop a Gcash integration, put it in your repository, and also nail the interview, because you will show that I already know how your plugin works and how to extend it. Here's my code, here's my coding standards. So another advice is never ever use AI to code, because this will be a bad trick, because some companies, they want to see live coding session. During the interview, they will ask you to share your screen, and if you have multiple screens, you will have to turn them off, and you will have to code from your head. And if at that moment you will realize that, oh my god, I can't do anything without ChatGPT, that will be a bad moment to realize this. So always train your brain and code yourself. Then time zone advantages. Some employers might tell you that you are from Philippines, you're 12 hours ahead, we need at least 4 hours intersection of time zones and so long. And you might accept that and work at night, but what I do is that I say, no, let's have 1 hour overlap, and I will attend the morning meeting. Usually it's around 9 or 10 p.m. in Philippines, and I work before that. So right now I work from 6 to 10 p.m. only in the evening, and then I attend the morning meeting, maybe half hour after that, and then I go sleep. So I don't need to work at night. And if you want, you can also, if you work in support, you can tell them I can cover night shifts. In the US, they have to pay double rate for night shifts, but to you, they can pay standard rate. You work daytime, you have your social life, and they are happy. So, wage. I think that in the US and in Canada, you should not ask for a wage lower than $30 per hour. It should be from $30 to $60, somewhere there. And you can, if you want a really high rate, for example, I usually work for $50+ dollars. I never work less. But if I see that the company is just starting and they don't have a budget, I offer them reduced work day. So right now I work only 4 hours per day, which gives me more time for my projects and for family and whatever my hobbies, but I still get high pay, and on their invoices, it still looks affordable. Be open and smile more. So yeah, that's very, very important. Be friendly, smile, because some people on their interview, they act like they're very scared and they're very grumpy. So don't do that. You should always come energized to the interview and show that you are a good communicator. Praise the product, the company, and their future. Always tell them how awesome they are, how they will disrupt the industry, and how you want to be a part of it. And then the last part of getting the job is becoming indispensable. Because once you get the job, you need to make sure that you stay there for long and that you are very, very useful. So useful that they can't afford firing you. So first is radical transparency. Always be honest. Always tell about issues as early as possible. Always communicate first. In every meeting in our company, we have daily meetings. At the end of the meeting, they say, does anyone have anything to say? And I always say something, even if I don't have anything, some joke or something. So communicate promptly, communicate before the problem is raised. When you have a slight issue, tell them. And then eat the frog for your boss. So when you're starting in a new company, notice the pain points. If they don't have documentation or a knowledge base or unit tests, implement those. And then solve their problem, becoming indispensable. Take responsibility for failures. People need that. In the team, sometimes stuff goes wrong, and sometimes no one wants to take responsibility. And you might take it, and then you get credits for that, because not everyone is ready to take responsibility. Sometimes I even take responsibility for other people's failure, and then I get, they like me because of that. Tell good things about people behind their backs. It's very important. So if you're speaking with some co-workers and you're sharing information, only tell good things about others. Don't tell it to them. That will be very, the people don't like it. But if you tell other people how good those people are, the rumors will spread. And you will eventually get credits for that. And then consider the buzz factor. The buzz factor is a term that how many people needs to be hit by a bus for the code to become useless. So if the code is, if you are the only one who understands the code, then they can fire you. Don't use it very hard, but consider it. So if you're coding something, you might choose a technology stack or some kind of a feature that other developers don't know, and in that way, a critical component of infrastructure becomes your own responsibility, and the company cannot fire you until they need this piece of code. And good luck. This is my LinkedIn account. Add me. I'm adding everyone in LinkedIn who sends me friends requests. So stop by, let's chat. I saw some people from Bohol are here. I'm from Bohol. So let's make friends, and maybe someday we'll make a WordCamp Bohol. Thank you.